All right, once again, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our fifth and final FTR webinar session, An Introduction to Sourcing from the United States. My name is Heather, and today I will be hosting the session on behalf of the Oman American Business Council. I see your messages there, Dr. Osman, coming in. You can just give me one moment and then we will get to your questions. So today we do have quite a robust agenda. And before we get started, I will just take a few minutes and provide you with some key updates on the overall FTA program. Then I will be turning the program over to Mr. Sumit Arora, who will be sharing an Oman FTA success story on behalf of his company, G4S Oman. Then we will get into the core of today's session, being led by Ms. Rahad Al-Khoja from AmCham Jordan. And we will wrap up today's session with Mr. Ray Salina from the U.S. Embassy Muscat. So just a brief overview of the Oman American Business Council for those of you that may be new. The OABC has been a vital part of the Oman business community for the past 20 years, with the mission to support bilateral trade between Oman and the U.S. The OABC is considered the official affiliate for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. They are also considered one of Oman's largest and most active business networking groups. We have more than 170 member companies and host at least 25 events each year. The events are a mix of networking evenings and learning workshops, such as today's webinar. To learn more about membership, please do reach out to the OABC. So as I mentioned, today is the last of a series of 5 webinars. This program was kicked off last May, and each month the team from AmCham Jordan has been covering key areas of the U.S.-Oman Free Trade Agreement. For those of you that have been joining these sessions each month, we thank you, and we hope that you have found these sessions very beneficial. And for those of you that might just be joining today for the first time, don't worry, all of these sessions have been recorded and you can access them through OABC's YouTube channel. So these webinars have been part of a multifaceted FTA program that was made possible by the support of the U.S. Embassy. With their help, we have been able to provide these incredible resources to everyone at no cost. Now, one of the most exciting components of the FTA program is the 2-day workshop, which will be taking place next month. So Rahad and her team will be traveling to Oman to conduct this in-depth program. The workshop is going to provide a deep dive into many of the topics that have been discussed throughout the webinar. It will also allow for more industry-specific conversations, as this training will be limited to just 20 companies. Also included in the training will be a site visit and an export readiness audit that will assess your business and ensure to set you up for support when exporting to the U.S. and doing business. Now, this type of training would cost your company hundreds of dollars. However, we are able to offer it to businesses here in Oman for free. If you are interested in participating in this program, time is running out. So if you are interested, please reach out to us, or at the end of this session, we will provide you a flyer in the chat link. In there is a link to access the registration and the short survey. Please take the time to do that if you'd like to take part in this session next month. Rahad, is there anything you'd like to add about this session that I might have missed? Okay, let's go ahead and move on. And then when it comes to sourcing from the United States, besides the FTA, another resource that companies do have here in Oman is the Export-Import Bank of the United States, also known as EXIM. So this is really important for people to be aware of, particularly if you are interested in sourcing, because they can provide financing support for companies that wish to buy U.S. goods and services. Now, Ray will be covering this later on in his session, but if you are interested in learning If your project could get EXIM financing, please be sure to reach out to the OABC team and they will put you in contact with EXIM representatives. Now, before we get started, just a few housekeeping tips. After each presenter, we will do a short Q&A, and then we'll have time at the end of the session for a final Q&A and wrap up. As you may have noticed, the session is being recorded and the link will be available to you within 2 days, or you can view it on OABC's YouTube channel. And then I can't stress enough, if you'd like to take part in the survey or in the workshop taking place October 10th and 11th, then please fill out the registration and survey to do so. Don't miss out on this very good opportunity. So now we are going to turn the session over to our Oman FTA success story. And I would like to introduce Mr. Sumit Arora while he is setting up his slides. So today, Sumit will be presenting a case study and explaining their areas of operation and how they're able to utilize the FTA for the benefit of their stakeholders. Now, I've had the pleasure of working with Sumit over the last couple of months, learning more about his business utilizes the FTA, and it's been extremely insightful. So I'm very pleased that he was able to join us today for this session. Now, Sumit is the managing director of G4S in Oman. He is an engineering graduate with more than 30 years of experience in the field of fire and security. He is based in Muscat and has worked on a wide range of projects. Sumit is passionate about keeping people and property safe and is always looking for new ways to improve his business activity. And he will be happy to share his knowledge and answer any questions that you might have at the end of his session. Sumit, thank you once again for being here with us this morning. And if you can just go ahead and before you get started, just make your slides in slideshow presentation so they're nice and big and everyone can see them. Perfect. Oop. One more click, I think.
I'm just trying to set up the screen.
Yep,
so
we can give you a moment. That's okay. I will actually review the question that came in while
Actually, it should give me a chance to duplicate my screen, but I'm not able to get that option as of now.
Sumit, just let us know if
Is my screen visible if I can continue with this one?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, okay. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Heather, for such kind words. So at the outset, I would like to convey my sincere thanks to OABC for giving us the opportunity to present today's case study. G4S has been in existence for over 100 years under different brand names, and we are now part of Allied Universal Group. For those who are not familiar with the company's details, G4S is a multinational company with over 800,000 employees and operations in more than 80 countries across the globe. This makes us the largest security company in the world. We started our operations in Oman in the year 1999, and we have our head office in Oman in Muscat, and we have 2 branch offices, one in Salalah and one in Sohar. Our flagship business in Oman is electronic security solutions. We do provide all sorts of security solutions, ranging from small CCTV access control, intrusion alarm, fire alarm systems, to more complex systems like X-ray scanning, explosive detectors, and various other customized systems. We have a seasoned team of engineers and technicians based in Oman to support our business requirements, ranging from consultancy, design, supply, installation, to the after-sales support. So we cover the full life cycle of the provided solution. We also have a 24/7 help desk for our service customers. So without any further ado, I would like to move straight to today's topic. Although FTA between two countries has far more reaching benefits for both the countries, like financial, cultural, political, tourism, etc. However, today's scope of case study is limited to only benefits related to companies like us who import electronic security goods to meet their daily business needs. So straight to the topic, how do we benefit from this FTA? We all know that US creates some of the best technology in the world, and under the FTA, we are able to import these goods and we save 5% custom duty. Imagine if we have to import similar kind of products from different countries in Europe and other parts of the world, we will have to pay the required custom duty. Whereas for certain defined categories and certain defined products, we can basically import those products without paying the custom duty if we are buying these goods from US. As a result, we are able to provide competitive prices to customers, and which is a cost saving for customers as well. Obviously, there are some other benefits of FTA. Like prior to this FTA setup, not many companies from America were keen to promote their products and technologies to other parts of the world, including Middle East. US suppliers are now more keen to work with FTA countries, giving us a chance to have more variation to our product offerings. This allows us to offer our Oman clients best range of US products at competitive pricing. During my last discussions with Heather, I was asked to basically prepare a short list or a short summary for the prerequisites in order to avail this 5% custom duty exemption. So here is the list which I wanted to share with you all. Although it's not an exhaustive list, but it gives the idea how simple the process is. And if we follow the proper paperwork, we can get the exemption of custom duty in Oman for all goods imported from US. Obviously, the first part is the product has to be made in US. The product shall be directly imported or shipped from US to Oman. If we wish to bring the product via other countries and we import from those countries, so that particular case will not be qualified for FTA exemption. The product has to have the engraving on the product with made in US. The simple stickers will not work. And we have to have the certificate of origin for the imported goods if we want to avail this facility. And all the documentations like invoicing, packing list, etc., which generally accompany the product, must have the made in USA information. So these are the 5 main points. If we follow, we can basically get the 5% exemption, custom duty exemption. There are other helpful resources available online as well as with experts. And for any assistance, all the participants can basically contact OABC for more clarity. In one of the discussions, I was also asked like how OABC members are benefited by joining the group. So in the end, actually, I wanted to highlight those points. OABC provides us the platform to build and strengthen relationship with clients, strategic partners, and service providers. We also get a chance to connect with US and Oman government officials to discuss our day-to-day requirements or any specific needs if there is a need. On top of it, of late, I have also seen that there are increased activities uh, by OABC, and they are actually conducting educational workshops to keep ourselves up to date, and this also benefits all the participants. So thank you, Heather, for giving us the opportunity once again, and over to you.
Thank you, Sumit. So now we will open the floor for questions directly towards Sumit and his business. So I'd like to start with a question for you, Sumit. So do you find that U.S. companies, are pretty open to working with you, and do they usually, the tips that you just gave about the certificate of origin and shipping and so forth, do you find that they're usually pretty up to speed on what they need to do to export to the U.S. or export to Oman?
Yes, and with a lot of awareness programs being run by OABC here in Oman and also AmCham in other countries. So most of the US manufacturers are now more up to date with the requirements. And as soon as they come to know that, okay, now there are certain FTA countries who can benefit in terms of 5% cost saving, so they become more open and keen to work with those countries which have got the FTA established. I hope this answers your query.
Mm-hmm. So now it looks like, Nilesh, you do have a question, and I see that you typed it in as well. And sorry, I was trying to type back to you. So Nilesh, why don't you go ahead and ask your question? Now, keep in mind, Sumit doesn't work with customs, but we can initiate this conversation. Go ahead, Nilesh.
Hi, thanks, Heather. See, recently we have clarified with customs officials a particular situation where the goods were produced in USA and we were directly importing. However, they had an authorized distributor or agent based in Dubai, and he basically was taking the order. So the understanding was the Dubai agent would issue the invoice for those products. However, the goods were directly coming from USA to Oman to us. Now, recently, the ROP have confirmed that even the invoice has to be issued by the USA. Now, again, it can be from the distributor based in USA or even directly from the supplier. Doesn't matter. But however, it has to be from USA. So anyone outside USA issuing the invoices is not will not be considered as an FTA eligibility. So, do we know what exactly the law is on this?
As far as I know, I mean, I understand from my logistics department that from the very beginning, ever since the FTA came into picture, the invoicing and packing list should be in the name of importer, and the invoices and packing list should be issued from USA directly in the name of importer. If you bring the item to Dubai and then re-import it from Dubai, then you will not qualify for FTA. If the invoices and packing lists are made in somebody else's name, and then he transferred the goods to you, that in that case also it will not be qualifying for this kind of requirement if that third party is outside Oman. So that is up, to the best of my knowledge. When obviously for specific cases, I believe OABC or other FTA qualified people can support you.
Okay, because just for just to add to this, we are dealing with a lot of suppliers from USA where they have the central warehousing in Europe, or they have a lot of distributors, agents, and based in GCC, and they get the orders, and that's how, and the invoicing directly goes from to the distributors or the central warehouse. But however, the production and the goods are being directly shipped from USA to Oman. So I think it was allowed until few months back, but that later on, where we tried to get the written confirmation or clarification from customs, they said no, it's no more allowed. So that's changed now effectively.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sumit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nilesh, for that question. And I think you bring up an interesting point that, because I know from my past talks with Michael that he said that that was the practice they were following. So why don't you leave this question with me,
Sure.
and I can do a bit of research, unless anyone else on the call has any more insights into this particular topic with changes to the procedures here in Oman recently. Okay, leave it with me and I will get back to you on that. Does anyone else have any questions for Sumit? Okay, Nilesh, if you want to go ahead and put your hand down. All right, Sumit, thank you once again so much for joining us today and sharing your insights. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine.
And now I am going to turn the screen over to AmCham Jordan's for today's session. And while they're getting set up, please let me introduce today's speaker. Ms. Rahad Al-Khoja is the Chief Executive Officer at the American Chamber of Commerce in Jordan. She has a long, diverse career that has spanned across various corporate, international, and governmental bodies, such as the International Federation of Red Cross, Jordan Red Crescent Society, the Garment Design and Training Service Center in Jordan, and the CEO of the Jordan Garment Exporters Association, just to name a few. She has also consulted for the UN and the EU. In her role leading AmCham Jordan, including the Jordan US FTA unit, she supports her members and the greater Jordanian business community by providing export readiness assessments, support and training in US trade promotions and missions, while raising awareness and understanding of the Jordan-US FTA. Rahad, we are so happy to be partnering with you and the AmCham Jordan team to provide these training sessions for our community. And a huge thank you for all the time and effort that has gone into these 5 webinars for our community. So thank you very much. And now I will turn it over to you if you're ready.
More than ready, Heather. Thank you so much and good morning, everybody. And thank you for joining us and taking the time off your, I'm sure, very busy schedules. So like Heather mentioned, this has been a very exciting journey. It started with the 5 webinars, of which this is the last. And I second Heather in asking you to kindly refer to the recordings of these webinars if you have missed them. So today's session is dedicated to sourcing from the US. I will start sharing my screen. So can everybody see the screen now?
Yes, it looks perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So this is a little bit about me if you're interested. But Heather made such a nice introduction and thank you for that. So we'll start by opportunities for import growth. And those of you who joined into the previous session, you will see a lot of resemblance because we're talking about the Oman-US FTA. And basically, when you're talking about a trade agreement, it goes both ways. It's bilateral trade. So it's import on one side and it's export on the other. So this is reflected for imports. Why would you want to import products from the US? Basically, there could be a missing product that is needed on the market. There could be emerging industries that are available in the US because US is a country that has very well developed R&D and they are leading in emerging industries. And then you have maybe mature competitive industries that you want to source those products from. And these are 2 main factors that could lead to increasing imports and growth between Oman and the US. This is also a slide that I like, and it's basically, it refers to a globalized world and how governments have integrated a free market economic assistance through policies and trade agreements. And of course, the Oman Free Trade Agreement is a great example. I won't spend so much time on this because this is something that we talked about. And it's about how government policies are designed to open economies domestically and internationally to boost the development in poorer countries and raise awareness of living for their people, and what are the drivers for globalization. This slide shows you some determinants of competitiveness and what makes it viable for you to source from the US versus any other country. So we start with the socio-cultural factors, values, attitudes, and consumer trends. And these are basically when you have your sourcing agents in the US, you know that you're dealing with a very well-defined socio-cultural aware partner. The values are clear, the attitudes are clear, and then there's a high focus on consumer trends. And this has been magnified after the COVID. And people are more and more aware of consumer trends now, not just in the US, but it's a global effect. So you need to know what are your consumer trends in Oman and how you can leverage that with whatever you're importing from the US. Environmental standards, SPS, TVT, social and ethical standards, brand names and private labeling schemes. We talked about all of this in the session of the export, but it's something that we have to mention here, because when you're dealing with a sophisticated market like the US markets, the standards are there. You know that your partner can actually comply with the national standards for your imports from the US. So it makes it easy for you to be able to talk the language, to talk the talk and walk the walk with them. Global political, economic trends and influences. Of course, there are very good relationships between Oman and the US. And what better proves than the existing free trade agreement. And the last factor is the company's strength and size. This is a misleading statement. And here we do not encourage companies to go for partnership with companies that are much larger from them or much smaller from them, unless there's a specific product that they are seeking from that company. The FTA is for everybody. The FTA is for bigger companies. The FTA is for smaller companies. And sometimes you need to find the right partner that matches your size, your needs, and the volumes that you will be wanting to import. Unless you're going for brand names, like if you want to import Caterpillar products, or you want to import Chevron products, or you want to import let's say M&Ms. But sometimes you're looking for a niche product, and this is an important factor just to keep in your mind. Look for companies that are similar to your size and similar to your volumes, and can actually not be looking for minimum orders that maybe could be overwhelming for you, or could put a financial strain on your resources. Export strategies and how you should define your export strategies, or how to build your export strategies. Of course, again, these are subjects that we have approached in the past webinars, and you can go back to the recordings for the details. We talked about the comparative, the differentiation, and the segmentation. When we talk about comparative, it's basically comparative positioning strategies by placing products right next to each other. So here, of course, the example I've given is a white label product versus another more expensive name. But if we're talking about sourcing from the US, I can safely give an example of, say, a US product versus a product that is made in another country, say China or India or local or a regional resource. And that way you can show the benefits and the value of the product and what the brand offers and what the name offers and the Made in America label actually offers as value. Differentiation, sometimes there's uniqueness of a product which cannot be duplicated. And I think when Sumit gave his presentation about G4S, I think there are a lot of products that are niche products that they import from the US, and this is especially important for services and software solutions and whatnot. But also there are other brands like Lululemon, like Juicy, some of the other brands that are actually produced in the US, they're made in the US, and they sell for a higher price, but then there's differentiation. These brands have made it part of their value proposition where the products are made in the US by workers from the US, and this is why they have a higher price point. Segmentation is basically helping a product stand out. It requires focusing on multiple audiences with different needs, but with the same product. So, and sometimes here you have a brand A, a brand B, and a brand C. And a good example of this is, I don't know how well you know the company that produces Gap, Old Navy, and Banana Republic. So this is a good example where they have 3 different audiences and they have 3 different price points. And basically they all produce the same product in its garment, but it's for three different segments of society with different price points. So it starts with Old Navy, which is a very affordable product. And then you move on to Gap, which is a high street brand. And then you go to Banana Republic, which is basically work clothes for both men and women. It's on a higher price point, and it talks to a different audience. So these are just some points that you need to, it should be part of your homework when you're considering sourcing from the US. Why import US products? And how to determine the value proposition of these imported products. So we start with the markets and identifying the market, who your customers will be and what is their need, what is their preference, and what are the trends in the market today. And you reflect on your company's experience and history. Maybe you've been carrying brands that are not US brands, or maybe on the other hand, you are only carrying US brands. So this is something that goes into play when you're reflecting that experience and that history. You reflect on all the benefits of a USA made product and what it offers. And you have to describe what makes these benefits valuable to you as a company and to your customers. And you identify what makes you differ when offering these products: price, quality, social value, and all the points we mentioned in the second slide. And then you connect this value to your buyer's needs. There's another point that I did not include because this is not directly connected to choosing your sourcing partners and sourcing from the US. You also need to have your team know this and be able to reflect it, whether it's the sales teams or whether it's the customer service teams, because once you have this and everybody is aware of this, it makes selling those products even easier. So some of the points that we have to take into consideration is the market, the value experience, the offerings, the benefits, alternatives and differentiation, and then the proof. I'm sorry, I'm stuck. My page is frozen. Please bear with us. Okay. What should you consider when you're choosing the right sourcing option and your partners in the US? Of course, market size and market share is very important. Growth drivers and trends, key markets by geography, customs, SPS requirements and labeling. You have to have a company that can comply with the national compliance of the requirements of Oman and can meet them. Legal status and conditions, including IPR. This is very important. Shipping and logistics, and like I can't recall the name, I'm sorry, but the question that was raised about direct shipping, invoices, and the changes in the opportunities and the requirements of both countries under the Oman FTA, and of course the WTO trade remedies. These are all important factors, and I'm glad that question was raised, because this proves that there are constant changes. It's the rules and regulations and are not set in stone. These are live documents, these are live agreements, and they are there to protect the interest of both the buyer and the seller, and vice versa when it comes to imports and exports. When you're choosing a US product, usually one of the key factors is quality, and the aspect of product quality could be high on your lists. And this trickles down to different components such as proper storage, safety, reliability, quality of the design, and the quality control procedures that were taken into consideration during the production of that product. So quality can define who the competitors are, because you can claim having a good quality product and you can defend that claim. Quality can help rebuff most pricing competition, and meeting market access and entry requirements, because if you have a high quality product, you can have most of the certifications, you can have proofs for the claims that are made, and you can actually, and probably people would know that products. Like when you bring in a quality product to a market where it does not exist, you have clients that usually seek out that product when they travel and when they are in the US or in neighboring countries, maybe when they go to Dubai and they buy it there. So you're basically meeting the market needs of your local market when you bring in that product from the US. And an example for this, we have consumers are extremely price conscious, seeking greater value for money. And at the same time, quality is increasingly driving consumption decisions. So people today are not looking at buying a product without even looking at the price. Inflation is going up all over the world. Money is well spent. And of course, in any business, you're looking for the price of the product that you are buying, and then of course your profit margins. And when you take into consideration the consumer's needs and the consumer's demands and the consumer trends, you know that when you study this thoroughly, you can have an informed decision of what your what your profits will be, and without affecting your consumer base and without affecting the reputation of your product on the market when you actually offer it on the market. What makes the US product your number one choice when you're sourcing? Of course, we go back to this famous slide that has been in most of our presentations, because this actually shows how the FTA reduces and eliminates duties, and automatically you will have a price competitive advantage. And it helps in your competitiveness, and this is what the FTA benefits directly. If we start at the beginning and the foundation of this structure, you have the excise tax and you have the sales tax or the value-added tax, whichever applies. These are imposed on both locally produced and foreign produced goods. And it will be the same whether you're sourcing from Mexico, whether you're sourcing from the US, whether you're sourcing from KSA, or whether you're sourcing from Egypt, from the UK, Germany, whatnot. The determining factor is that the FTA reduces or eliminates duties, and this is the benefit, the direct benefit of the FTA. And then you have the CAF value of the food and the sales price, and this is something that is determined by the seller, in which case is you. So when you're sourcing from the US, it might not be the cheapest option. Product might not be the cheapest on the market, but you have to remember competitiveness and value proposition, and your product will stand out as different. There is a certain reputation for US products that we cannot just turn a blind eye to. This is something that the US has worked on for a very, very long time. And this is actually the positioning that we talked about in the session about exports. Potential buyers will know your product's value. And this is something that I mentioned just a little while ago. It's about seeking out your products, seeking out US made products. Do you carry anything that is American? Do you carry any brand that is, okay, so this is what I'm looking for, but do you have anything else that is different? And this will answer this question in regards to what your buyer's needs and requirements are. And you will be able to justify the price. It's not something that's been trucked in. It's not something that is bought locally. It's not something that is dumped into the market. It's not, it's fair trade. It's the price is justifiable. Usually the price is also pretty well known. In today's world, you have the digital marketing, you've got the digital platforms, you've got online shopping, and the price is there. The price is very well known. You can have the product in other markets. If I can give an example, if any of you have bought any products from, say, Stradivarius or Bed Bath and Beyond, or some well-known brands, you would have the tag that gives you the prices in each and every market that they exist on in the MENA region. So you'd have the price in the currency of Oman, you'd have the price in the currency of the Emirates, you'd have it in Saudi Arabia, you'd have it in Jordan, you'd have it in Egypt, and whatever market in the MENA region that they are in. So basically, this is easier for you. And it makes your justifying the price much easier, even if it's not the cheapest. But again, remember what we talked about, quality and competitiveness. The next slide will, if it agrees to.
السكرين ايكون بتصير كل الفوكس عليها.
Okay. So strategy, you need to identify your company's sourcing strategy, and the questions you need to ask and address are: what are your company's goals and objectives, and why are you sourcing from the US? And what type of sourcing will that be? And we'll come into all of these in the coming slides. And what tools are available for you to make use of? So the value of sourcing from the US is, like we mentioned over and over again, it's sophisticated, trusted, and well-known. It's competitive, quality versus value for money. And then we have the price competitiveness because of the Oman US FTA. And it's readily available resources for support and assistance. And this is something that we'll be focusing on in the coming slides. So the US is the world's largest market. There's ease of doing business, there's transparency, there's talented and diverse workforce, and there's a variety of landscapes and natural resources to make products from the US enjoy quality and have diversity at the same time. So we've been talking about, your value proposition, defining your objectives, and why you should think of sourcing from the US. And now we'll talk a bit about what tools you have to be able to actually help you in taking these decisions, to identifying who your buyers will be, who your potential buyers are in general, how to reach those buyers, and that kind of information. So I do encourage you to go to the International Trade Administration websites, because there you will have a lot of information, and you need to read and you need to research all of this information before you actually, take a decision on buying, on spending your money, on identifying companies, because you have a lot of resources that can actually give you more choices. It can actually, these resources can help you in knowing your clients, in validating those clients, and being able to vet them for you. And we'll talk about all of these resources and why you should buy USA. So we start with US businesses are world-class providers of quality, innovative goods and services. And this is something that we've demonstrated. But what I need to mention here is that US Commercial Services connects international companies to suppliers.
الأس مسوين إيميل إنه شو اسمه بعد شيء البيمنت ما أعرف ديتيل. أنا توقعته معكم صح في الفاينانس.
Do you have a question? Or I think somehow you've become unmuted. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. So the US commercial services at US embassies worldwide is a very good resource for anybody thinking of buying from the US to reach out to. They're located across the United States and US embassies and consulates in nearly 80 countries. And the reason I'm saying that they're located in 80 countries, because this network can work directly with the US and it can work with the network that exists in other US embassies, whether it's regional or whether it's cross-continental. They provide support in locating US products, services, and business partners. So when you reach out to commercial services and you say, and you've done your homework, and you say, well, I'm looking for a company that manufactures, say, cars, and we're looking at SUVs, we're looking at electric cars, we're looking at 7-seaters, we're looking something very much like what X company is doing. I don't want to mention any specific companies here. They could actually suggest for you having multiple choices of sourcing partners rather than just having just being stuck with only one choice. So here they open you avenues for you, and you can compare what's available, and this will actually help you in your negotiations, even if you have decided on what company you want as partners and what product you actually want to import. You can get help in meeting suppliers and partners face-to-face through business matchmaking services. You can participate in trade shows that feature thousands of US companies through international trade programs, and I'll have some examples of this in the coming slides. You can find US products, services, and partners that are a good match for your business, whether you initiate a search or the US clients do. So it's like, it's back and forth, because the US clients can also conduct a search whereby they're looking for international buyers, and commercial services or econ in the embassies can actually help do this connection. And this is where business associations like the AmChams come in. And I'm sure like Rebecca, Heather, and her group can tell you a little bit more, and we'll go deeper into this when we're actually in Oman. I'm a strong believer in face-to-face. These webinars are great for a soft intro. They will give you some food for thoughts. You can do some research, but face-to-face interaction is something that I strongly believe in when it comes to business relationships. There are supplier catalogs that feature US companies that are seeking buyers, partners, agents, and distributors. And this is something else that could be offered through the commercial services. So if you're thinking of expanding your portfolio of existing products, or offering a US product that you did not carry before, or having different products with different origins and adding on a US-like product to your offering, this is also a good opportunity. So we have a website here for your reference, and it will be available once this presentation goes on AmCham Oman's website for people to revisit. So another way is to help you resolve a trade problem, to help you research trade events, events by industry, B2B opportunities, to learn more about US export regulations. Maybe you have opened an office in the US and you're exporting goods from your office to your business in Oman, which is a case that is quite now it's becoming more and more popular. Foreign regulations, trade agreements, and there are questions for you to ask. We have another website here. It's the Export Solutions website, and this is another resource for you to make use of.
رغد حركي الماوس وتوسع البرزنتيشن يعني شايفه هو كيف هو click on the presentation.
Okay. So we approached the subject of entry channels before when we were talking about exporting to Oman, but from Oman, but basically it's the same when you're choosing sourcing partners. So there are 3 categories that will determine at what market entry tier you will be entering. So either you will be, you need to define who you're dealing with and what is your tier. So you're either a retailer or you're a wholesaler or you're an agent or distributor, importer of US products. And of course, from the US side, you'll have the producers that will be your potential partners. So supply sourcing, the traditional means of market entry fall into the categories that we've shown in the previous slide. And like I explained, you can be an agent, a representative of a US brand, an importer, a distributor, or you can be a wholesaler where you give different or multiple other businesses in Oman, or you can be a retailer where you actually offer this product or this brand directly to consumers. But it doesn't stop there. Because you could be looking at imports of production, or you can be looking at importing machinery or spare parts from the US. If you're looking for inputs of production, and this is a subject I know from the interaction that we've been having since we started this program, it's a big deal for some of the exporting industries, because any inputs of production that are made in the USA will be considered as local inputs of production when the conversion is made into the made in or the certificate of origin requirements. So you're looking at anywhere between 10 to 15% of an originator when you actually use inputs of production that are US and will be converted or will be equal to a local product. Say in the case of garments, if you are importing fabric or yarn from the US, it will compensate for not being originating from Oman, and it will be calculated as part of your certificate of origin and the added value of your products. So this is important to take into consideration. And of course, machinery, the US market is known for the machinery. And sometimes if you have machinery, you'll be looking for spare parts. So the best way to be doing at that is researching specialized trade shows in the US. That way you can look into their previous shows and see who has exhibited. If you do not actually want to invest into going into those trade shows, and you can cross-reference your findings, you can ask peers for advice, other people in the industry who've actually visited those trade shows. Who have they seen? What have they seen? Maybe they're not identical competitors, but they're in the field and you trust their opinion. You can reach out to OABC, of course, and you can contact the embassy at Muscat Commercial Services, who can actually help and guide you and give you pointers, give you advice, coach and mentor you on how to approach this and what would be the actual best steps for you to take in that direction. There's a program called the TEPP, and it's the Trade Event Partnership Program. And we have some available dates for different trade shows that fall under this program. And usually you get this information through commercial services. So there's Medica, and Medica, from its name, is basically a medical a trade show. It's in Düsseldorf, Germany. You've got the New York Dental Meeting. This is a conference. You've got Arab Health in Dubai. You've got Florida International Medical Expo, which is FEMA. And this is a huge show. If you're in the medical field and if you're in medical services, and if this is a show that you are interested in, these shows are supported by the Department of Commerce, and you will get a lot of information from commercial services in regards to participation and registration for those shows. You've got the SHOT Show, which is basically the gun show, and you've got Consumer Technology Association, the CES show. There's WebTech, the water quality event. There's Waste Expo, and as you know, environmental issues are huge now all over the world. RE Plus is the energy. If you're into solar panels, into clean energy, this is the show for you. The Franchise Expo, this is an interesting expo. If you're looking for franchising opportunities and you're looking to bring in a franchise to Oman, this is an expo that is dedicated to that. And it's very interesting. It's one that I have myself special interest in, because you can find franchises for products and you don't have to get a McDonald's, you know. There are niche products that you can find. You can get franchises for multiple products, and it is a very, very interesting show. The National Restaurant Association show, that's in May. And the NAB show in New York, the NAB show is strictly called the NAB show. There is the International Production and Processing show, the IPPE, and there's of course the PAC Expo. PAC Expo, and it's funny because PAC Expo, there's I think two versions of PAC Expo. One of them coincides with the National Restaurants Association show, and they are both in Chicago. And so if you go to one, you can actually leverage that and go to the other, and you can find machinery, you can find raw materials, you can find ready-made products, and you can combine more than one show to meet your objectives. So if you're interested in any of these shows, do reach out to commercial services, to reach out to AmCham Oman, and they will help and assist you. Some other resources to visit, maybe the shows that are supported by Department of Commerce, or the shows that are being recruited for by commercial services do not fit into your requirements. You can do your own research. And there are virtual trade shows if you want to do a soft landing and find out what's out there. There's partnership programs, and one of the good programs to visit is the VTEPP. There's the Trade Event Menu of Services, and that's the TEMS, and there's Virtual Trade Event Menu of Services, the VTEMS. So you need to learn and you need to research what is right for you to be able to go one step further in your journey. There are some interesting resources to visit, and you can do your own browsing, you can do your own research, but make sure you validate this information. And then again, you have to reach out to AmCham Oman and commercial services. You don't want to end up investing and spending a lot of money and going to a trade show that did not deliver what it promises. So some of the resources that I do, but I do a lot of cross-referencing, and I actually practice, like, reaching out to people who've done that, reaching out to commercial services, reaching out to the US Chamber. And of course, we have an amazing network in the MENA region. And it is basically due to that network that I'm with you today. And this is the AmCham regional network of all the AmChams that are in the region. It starts with North Africa, it goes down to the Levant, and then to the GCC. And we meet regularly every 2 weeks or so, and we help each other and provide inputs, and there's interregional cooperation between all of these AmChams. So some of the, we sidetracked a bit, going back and talking about what's available out there on the internet. There's the top 100 United States events, trade fairs, conferences. You'll find like multiple lists of those. There's the top list of trade show by industry and trade show shipping. That's another resource. The best USA trade shows in 23-24. Here it lists Cosmoprof, and if you're in the beauty business, this is one for you. List of trade shows in USA 2024, the A+ Expo, this is something else that's interested. And then upcoming top 30 trade shows in USA, sorry, it says 2022, this is a mistake, it should say 2024, I apologize. And then here you have listings of medical design and manufacturing, you've got consumer electronics, you've got wind power, ASD. ASD offers both a virtual marketplace and an in-person trade show, and it's ASD stands for Affordable Shopping Destination. So it has a wide variety of products. The E3 Expo, this is a virtual expo, the National Hardware Show, and there is Offshore Technology Conference, the OTC, and there's Infocom, which is it's basically dedicated to information and tech. You can learn more about partnerships, joint ventures, establishing a subsidiary or investing opportunities in the US through visiting Select USA. Select USA is basically the trade show of trade shows when you are looking for partnerships in the US. This is also something that is organized by the Department of Commerce and commercial services in embassies worldwide promote this show. And it's truly an eye-opener, knowing, especially if you're looking for joint ventures and partnerships, what the different states in the US offer in terms of incentives, partnerships, and opportunities. As you know, the US is huge. It's made up of different states, and each of these states have it's like having different countries. So they have different schemes, they have different incentives that they offer to their industry, and you can indirectly benefit from that. It can come about as price competitiveness, it can come about as certain incentives when you're opening a subsidiary there or an investment opportunity there, or having joint ventures and partnerships with US counterparts. I will leave our colleague from the Embassy Commercial Services to talk a little bit more about Select USA. It is, I should mention that it is one of the solid programs that we have jointly with commercial services in Jordan. Because as some of you might know, that's the reason that we are partnering with AmCham Oman is because Jordan is one of the countries that actually has an FTA with the US. And we help recruit AmCham members to visit Select USA each and every year. So last year we had a delegation of around 24 Jordanian companies that we took to participate in Select USA. And Select USA is a very interesting show because alongside Select USA, there's Select USA Tech, and there's InvestTech for entrepreneurs and startups. And there's another very interesting program, which is Select Global Women in Tech. So if you're in this universe, if you're in this sector, if you're in this field, this is something that I thought was worth mentioning because it's a good opportunity for you to look into. One more tip is, I always encourage businesses to join business associations in the US. And why would you join a US business association? The investment is not huge. When you join a business association, you can actually access their membership base. And that way you can have a list of your potential suppliers or partners, business partners, or sourcing agents. So if you're looking at somebody who manufactures, let's say furniture, and you join a business, a furniture manufacturing business association in the US, you will get the whole list of their membership. That way it makes it easier to look into their e-catalogs, to review their pricing, to find out who they sell to, whether they have existing partners in, and it's easier because you can always reach out to the business association that you are both members in and ask for intros, and they will be more than happy to facilitate in most cases, because they will be benefiting both of their members when they increase the opportunity of doing business. Also, you will have access to specific announcements and trade shows, and most associations are willing to make introductions between their members, as I mentioned, and sometimes they have special events. And they actually encourage international members and international partners to be in the spotlights. They might even offer you the floor for a certain sponsorship to talk about what you're looking for, what you are seeking, what are the kind of partners that you need to identify. And people will start reaching out to you through that small presentation that you gave, and it could be very, very beneficial. This is a slide that I always end with. It's the US business culture. Americans are positive, they're persistent, they're opportunistic. When they see an opportunity, they go for it. They're mostly informal, they're direct, so a yes is a yes and a no is a no. And time is money, so they will not waste your time when there's no opportunity to do business. And what's worth mentioning here is no interaction is actually a waste of time. So I do encourage you, if you do get a no, if you reach a brick wall, ask for referrals. Most American companies are willing to do referrals. So if you do not find what you're looking for, ask who do you know? Is there anybody you recommend? Do you think there's anybody from your network? Is there a business association? Is there a trade show? And you'd be surprised at the amount of information you can get just by asking. There are other aspects of doing business with the US, and of course, it all goes back to the business culture. Request for exclusivity. This is something that we always mention. I understand that Oman is fairly small. So basically, if you're looking to be an importer, a distributor, asking for exclusivity could be an important point for you. This could be negotiated. You need to use lawyers because your American counterparts will be seeking legal advice and using lawyers. Insurance, product liability, IPR, please do not negligent these issues. Product liability, is a product dangerous? Will the consumer appreciate the extent of the danger? Defective products, like I mentioned, IPRs, trademarks, patents, copyright registration, specific registration in Oman, is it required? You need to ask your lawyer's advice and assistance. And do be careful when you're negotiating purchase orders from with large companies, because they often include clauses that require you to buy big quantities or minimum orders. And thank you, and thank you for joining us. And I hope the session was not very long. And more than happy to hand over to you, Heather.
Thank you.
Take on any questions the audience may have.
Absolutely. What a fantastic overview. You've most certainly given people a lot of things to think about when choosing their supplier, and also a lot of great resources. So does anybody have any questions before we move on to our next presenter? Okay. So if we don't have any questions, if Amchim Jordan can stop sharing their slides, and we will turn it over to Ray. So after all of that information, if you do decide sourcing from the US is the right opportunity for your business, then fortunately, the US has a number of incredible resources to help you when it comes to sourcing US goods and services. And today we have Mr. Ray Salina with us. If you haven't had the chance to meet Ray, he has recently joined the U.S. Embassy here in Muscat as their economic and commercial officer. Before coming to Oman, Ray served as an economic and political officer at the U.S. Embassy in Georgetown, Guyana, and as a consular officer at the U.S. Embassy in Belgrade. Somebody, we just need to mute somebody here. Okay. Prior to Ray joining Foreign Services, he worked in the community sector for 20 years. Started as an engineer and then transitioned into program management and business development. And his private sector career involved several areas of technology, including satellite systems, large and small tracking antennas, and military tactical radios. Ray has a degree in physics from the Trinity University in San Antonio and an MBA from Redlands University in California. So Ray, we're really excited to have you here today. Thank you for taking time out, and we are anxious to hear more about all of these resources that the U.S. government has to offer when companies want to source from the U.S. So I will turn it over to you now.
Oh, thank you very much, Heather. Let me share my screen and we'll get the presentation going. Can everyone see that?
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, great. So thank you, Heather, for the warm introduction and welcome everyone. My name is Ray Salina. I'm the new Economic and Commercial Officer here at the Embassy in Muscat. Some of you may know Gary Schumann, so I am his replacement. And I will be here for 3 years, so I hope to see many of you at future events and to get some good business opportunities for all parties. So my main role is, of course, improving U.S. business, getting companies together, improving the relationship between U.S. and Omani companies, and basically increasing trade. I worked over 20 years in the private sector, and at one part of that, I did sell internationally. And I remember being tasked with selling in Southeast Asia, and I had no contacts. And so I reached out to the U.S. commercial services in the various countries, and they were very helpful in getting me in front of the right people, and I found the right reps, and I was actually successful. And they can do the same for your company entering into the U.S. So they're a very, very good resource, and I highly recommend them. One advantage, some of this information is already duplicated, so I won't go over it in much detail. The free trade agreement, that can give Oman businesses a good edge. If you look at the tariff schedules, some of them are quite heavy, and if you're in a niche or in a business that actually makes products that have a high tariff, you can actually utilize that to your advantage over some other countries that have to pay that tariff. This was already mentioned, but Jordan and Bahrain are the only other two in this region that have a free trade agreement, so that can give you advantages over the UAE or the Saudi Arabias. The free trade agreement, it's used all the time. Just an example, since everyone shops at grocery stores. Every year around October, Lulu Hypermarket has their Discover America. And October 9th is when they kick it off this year, and our embassy will support it. And they showcase hundreds of US products. And you can try new products, you can see what it is, they're on sale. But they do all that under the free trade agreement. Feel free to contact me or our group at muscatcommercial@state.gov, and we'll help you as best we can, even if it's just referring you to the right commercial services location so that they can help you. Just a quick snapshot of the US-Oman trade. In 2022, it was about 1.5 billion of goods exported into Oman, and Oman exported about 2.7 billion to the US. So it's actually in Oman's favor. They're exporting more than importing. Mainly like finished goods like vehicles, aircraft, engines, some chemical and petroleum products. So those were the main exports to Oman, and Oman exported fertilizers, aluminum, iron, steel, petrol, and other industrial supplies. This was already touched upon earlier, but some of the reasons to invest in the US or to partner with a US company is there's a lot of money that could be made. The GDP of the US is the largest in the world, and just the state of California in 2022 had a larger GDP than all of India. And so that's a state of around 50 million people with a higher GDP than the whole entire country of India. And Americans like to spend money. We're highly consumer spending oriented. And in 2022, we spent over $17 trillion on consumer goods. Once we get the iPhone 13, we need to go up to the 14. And that's what we like to do. Some of the challenges were already discussed, but there are 50 different states, each with their own rules, markets, and regulations. And you also have to comply with federal law. So sometimes that can be a little bit daunting for new people entering the market. It's highly competitive, that was touched on before. And it may take a little bit of time and effort to penetrate and to navigate that complex system. But on the plus side, the payback could be very, very high. And this is where US partners and reps can prove very helpful, which was discussed earlier. A lot of this has already been touched on, but in the US, it's heavily regulated by state and federal government to assure safety. So when you're getting medical equipment, pharmaceuticals, drugs, when you go and buy groceries at the store, get a bottle of water, that it has good quality control, it follows regulations. You're not going to get a knockoff medicines that will make you sick. The medical equipment you buy will be good. Everything will be sterilized. You get a peace of mind when you buy American. We also, companies are required to follow environmental standards and labor laws. That was touched upon earlier. And quality and technology, that can be the main drivers. And, if you buy a quality good over the course of the life, let's say an airplane, it could actually pay for itself over buying something much cheaper quality that you have to continually put money in until it no longer works and breaks. Another reason to buy US goods is you could, under certain circumstances, get Ex-Im Bank funding. Earlier on, the $500 million MOU was signed between the US and Oman. And that is a lot of money that could be tapped. And I think only one project that I've heard of is actually utilizing the MOU. So there's up to 500 million available, and that can be directly able to buy goods and services from US companies. I think the previous presenter actually did a really good job talking about international trade. Going to trade.gov can be a very good resource. It can be a little bit overwhelming because there's so much data, but it's well organized. But also the people who work there are very, very helpful. If you reach out to them, they can typically put you in touch with the right companies, give you the right contacts, help you find the right rep. They can help you navigate the system and make it a lot easier for you to penetrate. So how do you contact them? There are all the different offices throughout the US. There are also offices internationally and various people who work at the embassies. So you can go through trade.gov and find the closest or best one for you. You can also reach out to our Muscat commercial here at the embassy, and we're happy to help. But they do a really good job of getting suppliers and partners together. If you go to a trade show, I highly advise this. This was mentioned earlier in the previous presentation. Find one that fits your business and contact commercial services. And more than likely, they have a branch in that city, and they can help put you in touch with the right companies. And they can even help you schedule the meetings, find the right reps. They do a lot of the hard work for you. And when you show up, you can have maybe 20 meetings already set up and find that partner or rep that you were looking for. Also, they have like a catalog, supplier catalog, and they can help put the right products, services, and partners together. So they're a very good resource, and I would take advantage of that so you don't have to do all the work yourself. I'm almost done here, but I just wanted to give you a success story. Heather mentioned earlier, I served in Guyana, and ExxonMobil first discovered oil in 2015. And I got there in 2018 as oil production was about to start. And Guyanese companies approach me every day asking how they can get in the business. They knew the potential, they knew how big it was, they were very new. Oil was very new to them, so they didn't know what to do. And so I gathered enough interest where we sent the delegation to the Offshore Technology Conference in Houston. This was the first time they'd ever been. We rented booth space. We had over 19 companies. I think it might have been 20. We had some government people also attend for the Ministry of Energy. And I reached out to the commercial services in Houston, and they did an excellent job. They arranged 28 meetings during the event. Several of the Guyanese companies signed with US partners, and they're making a lot of money today. If you don't know, Guyana has discovered a lot of oil, and they got in at the very beginning. So they're the experienced players in town. And so this is just one example of how commercial services can be a great help. And they did a lot of the tough work for me and for my Guyanese delegation. And basically, they just had to show up and meet the right people. And from there, the money and the partnerships came. So it's a very easy way to get assistance and to penetrate a market that can seem daunting. And this was already mentioned before, but just a snapshot of Select USA as it was in 2023. A lot of attendees, a lot of international markets, every state and territory probably, I think that's it, attends. So it's highly visible. And the President of the United States, cabinet members, a lot of important people go. So this is a good place to start, and definitely recommend doing that. And if you do, reach out to the commercial services. You can let them know you're coming, what your business is, and they can help you meet the right people. And that's actually all I have, so thank you. And I'll turn it back over to Heather.
Fantastic, Ray. Thank you so much. I think, definitely a lot of good insights there. So before we wrap up this afternoon, are there any more questions for either Rahad or Ray? We'll just pause just a moment. We are going to go ahead and send the flyer for the exporting workshop through the link. Oh, there it is. So again, if you do want a more in-depth session on how to do business with the US, then this workshop next month is definitely for you. And it's open to everyone, not just OABC members. So you have the flyer, the information. Feel free to send this to other colleagues and associates as well that you think might benefit from this session. So I'm not seeing any other questions. Last chance. All right, well, everyone, thank you so much, particularly those of you that have joined us for all 5 sessions. We do really appreciate you engaging with this program. Without a doubt, it has been, very beneficial. And, we now have these sessions recorded and available, so you can always reference them when you need them. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a fantastic afternoon.
Thank you, Heather. Ray, lovely to meet you. Hope to see you in Oman when we're there.
Yes,
And thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you so much.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.